Welcome to the tomb of illumination. Everything's flat earth here, everybody. And it's how I can show people why the earth is flat as opposed to the imaginary spinning ball theory. Today's video will be about the sigma octantis rotation we see in the southern hemisphere. That's why they tell you live on a ball, because you see a 15-degree circular motion in the southern hemisphere, and if you look to the north you see the northern rotation. So two ends of the balls gives you two rotations. They don't want to talk too much about the celestial equator in the center of the two where they meet. Why do you see two rotations at the center celestial tropical region, when if you lived on a ball, that rotation would just be rolling over you, one night sky rolling over you as the one ball rolls that way? But there's two separate rotations going like this. Does that make sense to people? Apparently it does. I don't know how they think. I don't think they do think. Well, I'm going to show you that's a load of garbage, because there's not just one rotation, there's two movements. How can you get two movements in the southern hemisphere when there's only one in the northern hemisphere? I'm going to explain it all. And the other part of the video is going to be a bit about the magnetic field and the realm we live in, why it's a dual system, and how there's a shill out there with a big well-known site telling everybody we do not live in a dual system, to keep you away from understanding the truth. You have to understand we live in a dual system which is magnetic, and a magnet has a north and a south pole. That's what we have on our earth. It's a dual system, just like male and female, black and white, up and down, in, out, contraction and compression and contraction and expansion. There's plenty to it. So let's start off with the rotation, shall we? Here's a picture of the flat earth design. If you can look down on it as a whole, as a plan view. This part around here is the tropical gap. And out here is the southern field. And here is the northern hemisphere. Look how small the northern hemisphere is compared to the southern hemisphere. You have to understand the difference between the north and the south. See, in science they explain that the north pole of a magnet is the same energy as the south pole of a magnet. Well, in total that's correct, but they don't go deep enough to explain the truth. The truth is the north pole is this size, and the south pole, poles actually, is equal in energy to that, but look, it's more dispersed. So per ratio cycle, there's cycles, infinite cycles. The ratio is 3 to 2. This field is weaker because it's more expanded. It's expressed out from the center. It's part of the toroidal field of our existence. We all live as a flat, fixed, stationary plane inside the flux of a magnetic field. And that's what a toroidal field is shaped like, a donut. It's the center north and the south. So you can imagine a donut, a round donut, a ring donut. And the center is the place of creation. Right in here. We cannot get to it. It's called the place of inaccessibility. So anyway, you have to understand Earth looks like that. If you could look at it, we cannot get high enough to see it. We're locked in this realm. We cannot leave it because we are part of that magnetic field. We are part of the ether. That's what the ether is. The ether is the infinite cycle, the moving magnetic field, the flux. So you can compare this with a ring magnet. But of course the ring magnet does not have the sun. It does not have the poloidal field in the center here. But we'll explain a bit more about that later. But right now I'm going to show you why you do not live on a ball. This is what science teaches you, or indoctrinates you with, is the ball's turning. And it's on a permanent 23.4 degrees tilt. That's another story in itself that doesn't make sense, because we see all the other planets out there. This is the only planet. This is the only planet. But we call the other 5 wandering stars planets. Science calls them planets, but they're not. This is the only planet. Because everything's about our realm. This is our realm, and everything is in the centre here, reflected out. So let's go back to the ball. So they want to tell you the ball is turning, and this is why you get a 15-degree rotation around Polaris. In star trail photography, you'll see a rotation. And down in the south, if you're facing south, you'll get a rotation around Sigma Octantis. But it's circular, right? How can it be circular if you've only filmed for 5 or 10 minutes? When you get a circle, the Earth would have to turn a full 360 degrees. That's 24 hours. We get a circular pattern there permanently. How can there be a permanent circle in star trail photography when the Earth has only turned a fraction? Not even an hour. Hour's only 15-degree rotation. We should be just standing here watching the sky go like this. And over 24 hours it's gone right round. That doesn't happen. Does anybody think about that? I don't think so. Well, so why is there a circular motion? They can't explain that properly. In the flat earth model, there's a vortex in the centre here. It's always turning. It's the vortex. The circle is already there because the vortex is circular. It's in slow motion, but at least the vortex is already there. It's there, and it reflects everything out into our realm. So you understand that this is a slice through our flat earth system from there to there. So there's the south, north, south. South, north, south. With the tropical gap in the middle. Tropical gap in the middle. Everything in our realm comes from this place of creation. So back to the ball, we get a circular motion. And these stars are moving 15 degrees per hour. But they don't do a full circle because they're moving in and out of our horizon. In and out of our horizon. They turn so much as they're moving out of our horizon. There's 100% proof that we have a visual perspective within our horizon. This is why it's called an arc of horizon. Every human being on earth has an arc of horizon that his celestial bodies will pass over. That's why we see everything in the night sky go over us like this. Sun comes up from the east, sets in the west. Orion's belt comes up from the east via another route, finishing in the west. Vertically, horizontally, vertically. So you have to understand that every man sees the world with inside his arc of horizon. This is Euclidean geometry. It's all about the arc, the hemisphere, and all the angles from you. You stand in the centre of this hemisphere. I haven't drawn one, but imagine you're in the centre here. Everything comes back to the observer. This is why everything just flies over you. It all stays at equal distance from the observer, whose centre always 90 degrees to zenith. This is how we see everything. Now, every man on earth is on a meridian. See, science teaches you what the meridians are? This arc that goes all the way to the north, all the way to the south. On the flat earth, there's the north, there's the south. It's a nice 180 degree arc. And here it is here. Take this off for a minute. There's the arc, north to south. Everybody is under this arc. But then beneath that, you break it right down, every person has an individual arc of his own, which is called the arc of horizon, his perspective. Okay? So imagine that. Well, so man is on, just consider these meridians, there's millions of them, and every body, every man is on one of these lines. So here's a direct line from north to south, which means anywhere around this earth, no matter where he's standing, he's going to be somewhere between centre north and centre south, in a line to the south, on that line. So he will, if he looks directly south, he gets the centre of the rotation, which is sigma octantis. If he looks centred directly north, he gets his visual of a rotation around Polaris. Depending on where you are on the flat earth, how much you're going to see of either pole. But everybody has a pole on his horizon, in his arc of horizon. That's where he will see a circulation, because it's direct reflection from the north to the south. So no matter where he is, he'll get a southern rotation, because it's a rotation of the north. It's actually mirrored. It's another long story, but check out my earlier videos. So anyway, on his meridian he sees a north and a south. Now if he takes a camera and puts it on a tripod and videos that in time and star trail, he'll video the rotation. A circular rotation within minutes. Like I said, how do you get a circle if the earth hasn't spun a full 360 degrees? But the central vortex is already created here and it's being mirrored out here. This is very hard for humans to understand, but it's factual. Look, all these rotations represent the rotation in here. This is central vortex of creation. There's the S curve. It's a 3D S curve. Look at it, S, big, small. There's the bigger field. That gets projected right over like this, to the south like that. So you see the bigger field here and the north, smaller field back in the north. But if you look down inside the vortex, look what you've got. That's what it looks like. That's what that S curve looks like. A little spiral, like if you can see that is. A spiral like a... Here it is. It's an S curve from there to there. That's if you look down through it, but looking sideways, it's like this. That's the southern hemisphere, that's the northern hemisphere. You have to understand that. That's what the magnetic field is, but we'll have to get into that with another video. I've done plenty of those previously. So anyway, back to the rotation of their spinning ball comedy. You can film that circular motion with star trail photography fixed to a tripod. But if you put another tripod there with an equatorial mount or a star tracker and track one of those stars directly south, you will film it in time lapse drifting to the west. Drifting to the west. It moves this way as well. So that rotation will stay there because you're sitting there filming with a camera. You can see it staying there. But with another camera, you can actually track a star moving this way. 15-degree drift also. Now in science they tell you the globe model, the earth is spinning around the sun. But that's only 1 degree per day. We're talking 15 degrees per hour. This is 100% proof you do not live on a globe. Anybody can get out there and film it. Anybody in the southern hemisphere. All you flat earthers in America, take a trip to New Zealand or Australia or South Africa or South America. You will get the same image. Because no matter where you are in the southern hemisphere, you will have that direct line south, which is direct from north to south. You're on a meridian. Anybody can film this circle in his arc of horizon and have another camera, equatorial mount or a star tracker, track the star moving this way. because this whole rotation is turning all the way around the flat earth. But because it's always projected out, there's always an image. It's just slightly different, slightly rotated from the previous location, like a more easterly rotation. So he'll see it like that. Next guy will see it like this. Next guy sees it round like that. Next guy sees it around more, to come back to the exact same place every night. 100% proof you live on this flat earth realm. That's a Nobel Prize there, and someone a while back said I had no proof. I couldn't deserve a Nobel Prize because I have no proof. That's a proof. Anybody can get out there and film it. I kid you not. Go out there and get in touch with me. Confirm I'm right. I am right. It cannot be debunked. And this does not happen in the Northern Hemisphere. Why? Because the Northern Hemisphere is centrally locked. Basically magnetically locked. It's stuck in the middle. It just turns. It doesn't wander off. It cannot. It's the southern field that wanders west. So there you have it, guys. 100% proof you do not live on a globe. Now, part 2. Understanding the S-curve. The S-curve of creation, which is inside the vortex here. Like this. It's like that basically. But you look down it and it looks like this. The Fibonacci, the golden ratio, they're all pretty much the same, pretty close. Understanding the magnetic field. So this is expressed out. This is the central earth toroidal field. I'm sorry, the hyperboloid, part of the hyperboloid. But the top half we expressed as a vortex. And this it's expressed out this way for the toroidal field we live in. The toroidal field is the ether. It's the moving ether. It's a flux, just like a ring magnet. It's the flux of the ring of the stationary fixed magnet. But the magnetic field is a returning cycle. It's a moving cycle. But obviously a magnet does not have the poloidal center, this creating the energy, the electrical system. But in a magnet it does have this place, a neutral zone, which science has never talked about. They don't understand it. You go check out any science site on magnets, they've missed half the story. So I'll do another video on that just after this, I think. I'll get my head around it, to explain what they're missing. Okay? So you have to understand this S-curve, looking down inside the vortex, looks like this. And this is the motion we're getting, the circular motion we get in our star rotation photography. The northern hemisphere we're looking up this way, from down in there, circular. And out that way, we're looking at this end, circular, like this. So, then we have to understand the variance, the ratio, 3:2 in energy, which takes us back to phi. Why phi? I've done a previous video on it. Phi sounds like 5 because it's a 2:3 ratio. 2 and 3 equal 5. That's deep. So you come over here to the sun's analemma. There's the sun's analemma. How can you get a sun analemma like that on an equal 50-50 globe ball? Does not work. They tell you it works like this because the globe's on a tilt. But what they're not telling you, everybody, is there's the equator. They're not telling you that the field is like this. There's one there, and there's also one there. They don't tell you about the two sun analemmas. Check out my previous video about the sun and a lemma and Christ, the sun, what the sun is doing, how it's all described in the Christ story. Christians will find that hard to get their head around, but you have to understand it's a dual system. There's the earthly system with the sun as the Christ, but there's also the Christ coming into man, his enlightenment, his divine enlightenment. And it's all to do with the sun. See, a lot of people think these sun worshippers are all freaks and Lucifer's a bad thing and all that, but no. The sun is the father, the moon is the mother. They're the divine entities up there. And then you also have to understand the physical realm we live in, the perceived physical realm we live in, and the non-physical. The non-physical, the spiritual. This is man's duality. He has a physical side, he has a spiritual side. He has a physical image down here, he has a light, spiritual, godly, sololuminescent image up here as a star. So this is singularity. When you unite, and this is the divine awakening, the whole Jesus story. I've got other videos to go into this, and it's to do with the sun and the Milky Way. I can create videos every day to describe the whole realm. It's never ending. It's a long story. It's probably why the Bible's so fat. And there's only part of everything in the Bible. There's not much in the Bible at all. So you have to understand all this. Understand the earthly system and how man is connected to this earthly system. I've got all the proofs that you do not live on a globe. It's all a lie. It's a con. It's to get you away from the dual entity, the dual system. And the funny thing is, I heard Elon Musk mention singularity the other day. And he says, like a black hole. I think, oh my God, they've been watching my videos. Black hole, the state of rest. The state of rest is singularity. Man, in his divine awakening, goes through a process of spiritual rest, psychological rest, and creates his own singularity. This is when man finds his spiritual half, which is his feminine half, and I guess a woman must go through her system, finding her male half. It's a unification, a spiritual unification, where you're still male, of course, but you gain this spiritual, your other partner. See, in the physical world, we're a dual. We go looking for our physical partner. But in the spiritual enlightenment, you receive your spiritual partner. This is singularity, the place we've come from. When we're born into this physical world, we are separated. And we have to go searching for this other half. But at the end of the day, you'll never seek singularity unless you go through the spiritual awakening. You will always be searching, even when you're in love with a woman. Maybe you die still being in love with that woman. You've had a good, satisfying life, but there'll still be something missing because you have not gained the spiritual, godly purpose in life, in the physical world. We have to find our godly half, our spiritual half. That's unification. That's singularity. So all these elites, they know all about the singularity, but they hide it from you. It's like a club, the big Freemason club, the elites right at the very top. You know, it's just the peak at the top of the pyramid that understand all that. Everyone down here they just belong to Freemason clubs. They've got no idea about anything. They don't even know who they're working for. You know, and somewhere along the line they've become evil. They're using the good for evil purposes. And this is all about enslavement. They're up there, you're down here, you're their slaves. This goes right back to the early creation story of the Anunnaki, mining for gold. You're the slaves. Go forth and multiply type of thing. It's another story and a video on that. But understand the magnetic field, the duality of our earth. It's like a magnet. It's a dual system. and understanding the field of a magnet, how it performs. It performs like this. That's the tropics. But they don't cross. There's a 120 degree avoidance zone there. So you put Earth through the centre like this. Some people call this the sine wave. It's associated with that, but this is how the field works over the Earth. So there's, say, north and there's south. But you have to understand this system works in this flat Earth system. It goes like this. And that system continues all the way around, infinitely, just always flowing. So every time it goes out there, that's your south pole, south pole, south pole, south pole, south pole. It's south all the way around here. That's what all these loops are for. Only one central pole. So there is no real south pole, it's just a returning north pole. But it has to go through this motion, so you'll just say it's south all the way around here, which it is. So that widely dispersed south pole is all equal to that one central north pole. So there's the energy difference, isn't there? Overall it's the same energy, but it's widely dispersed, so each cycle would be a lot weaker out here than back in here, wouldn't it? It's a lot weaker. Understanding the 3 to 2 when you're looking at it that way, it's a bit difficult. There's another sort of story to it. But you've got to understand the weaker field always seeks the strong, and the strong always seeks the weak to find equilibrium. In nature, everything's trying to find rest. This is what keeps the field flowing. If you lived on an equal, symmetrical ball like this, if that field seeked this field and that seeked that, then it would reach singularity, become a black hole, and there'd be no life existing in here because it's fixed and stationary, there's nothing happening. But all the actions around here, that's what creates life. And this is what the toroidal field is. It's always moving around that central point, fixed and stationary Earth. So we have a toroidal field, always moving, the ether is always moving, because it's the flux of the magnet basically, always moving thanks to our poloidal sun region here, which is the dielectric, the avoidance zone. There has to be this avoidance zone of the two fields. So the field has to come from the south, swing down and go up this way, over, down, and back up this way. That's the avoidance zone. If they could meet in the centre, then they'd find rest, they'd find equilibrium, and then the whole field would stop flowing. Nothing would be seeking each other. There'd be no counter forces. This is well described in the Iliad, the Hermetica, even the Bible, and the Zora of Ages, any of those stories. But the main story of this tropical gap is the Trojan War. Trojan War, you've got the Achaeans on one side and the Trojans on the other side. And then you've got, this is Troy, the Battle of Troy. It's a battle here, because there's a build-up of all that army there, build-up of the army here. This is what happens in induction, EMF induction, electromagnetic induction, creating the electromagnetic force, all the actions up the sides here. In the Bible, this is the banks of the Jordan. But the Trojan War is all about this. If you want to understand more of this, you'll have to go back and watch all my videos. I've got a little bit about everything scattered through all the videos. You'll learn everything about creation, everything about man's spiritual enlightenment and how he is connected to the earth, understanding the whole Christian story, the sun, the zodiac signs, what they mean, Pisces, the whole Jesus story, sun's in a lemma,